get over. Great Slaughter is a small town. It would be a shame if its newfound prosperity was interrupted. Sam Gillespie, briefed on the meeting, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the Cotswold wind. He's a shark, Boniface. Worse than Panisa wanted land. Sterling wants power over life and death. Chapter 11. The Midnight Theft. The threat wasn't empty. 2 nights later, an alarm, a clever tripwire system Boniface had rigged, triggered in the laboratory. Sam and Felix arrived within minutes, but the scene was a wreckage of broken glass and uprooted plants. The indigo flowers had been decimated. The glass vials containing the concentrated essence were gone, and most devastatingly, Elena, who had been helping Boniface in the garden, was missing. He didn't just take the seeds, Ruth said, her journalist instincts flaring as she surveyed the chaos. He took a witness. He needs Elena to show him where the remaining stock is hidden. Ruth's investigation into Sterling's past revealed a trail of miracle cures that had left behind a wake of suppressed side effects and bankrupt competitors. He's not a doctor. He's an alchemist of greed, she told Sam. They traced Sterling to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the Sedgwick estate. Inside, Sterling had set up a mobile lab, forcing Elena to identify the potency of the extracted oils. The girl is useless without the formula, Sterling snarled as Sam and the team burst in. He held a syringe filled with the concentrated apostle essence. If I can't have the monopoly, nobody will. 1 dose of this unrefined extract and the results will be unpredictable. In the ensuing struggle, Sister Boniface didn't use a weapon. She used her knowledge. She had noticed the chemical reaction between the apostle oil and the copper pipes in the old warehouse. With a well-aimed toss of a catalytic powder she always carried, she triggered a non-toxic but blinding cloud of thick, purple vapor. In the confusion, Sam tackled Sterling, while Felix rescued Elena. The syringe shattered on the concrete floor, the precious liquid evaporating into a scent that momentarily filled the room with an overwhelming sense of peace. Chapter 12. The Heart's True Legacy. Sterling's arrest for kidnapping and theft effectively ended Apex's interest in Great Slaughter. The scandal broke nationwide, fueled by Ruth Penny's blistering, ensuring that the apostle seeds remained under the protection of St. Vincent. But the seeds had one last secret to reveal. Sister Boniface discovered that the indigo flowers only bloomed when the soil was nourished by a specific type of limestone found in the North Cloister, the very stone Sister Helena had died protecting. It's a closed loop, Boniface explained to the sisters during a sunset gathering in the garden. The stone protects the seeds, and the seeds heal the people who live within the stone. It's a living covenant. Elena, now recovering and more confident than ever, stood by the indigo patch. She looked at the hills, no longer afraid of the silence. The soldiers never come for the flowers, she said softly. The flowers only come for the friends. Sam and Ruth, now settling into their life at a small cottage near the village green, watched the sunset from the convent wall. Sam looked at his wife, the woman who had traded the noise of London for the music of the You know, Sam said, pulling her closer. Boniface says the seeds symbolize resilience. I think she's talking about us. Ruth laughed, a bright, clear sound that echoed through the cloisters. I think she's talking about the town. Sam, we're just the gardeners. As night fell, the bells of St. Vincent's began to toll, a deep, resonant sound that felt like the heartbeat of the world. The mist returned, but it was no longer a shroud. It was a blanket, tucking the village into a sleep that was guarded by faith, science, and a heart of stone that had finally, permanently, turned into gold. Chapter 13. The Ghost of the Eye. Just as the town began to settle into its new rhythm, a series of cryptic messages began appearing on the walls of the old chapel. They were symbols of the same weeping eye that had been on the iron box Elena found. Sister Boniface, ever the seeker of patterns, found a connection in Sister Helena's old journals. Helena hadn't just been an archaeologist, she had been a protector. The Eye of Providence was a remnant of a brotherhood, dedicated to keeping the apostles' seeds out of the hands of those who would weaponize them. They weren't villains, Boniface realized as she sat in the dim light of her lab. They were the guardians, and they think we are not worthy of the trust. A stranger arrived in town, a man who claimed to be a distant relative of Helena's. He had the same sharp, observant eyes. He approached Boniface with a request to see the garden. The seeds are a burden, sister. The man, who called himself Julian, said. They're not meant to be a cure for all, but a reminder of what we have lost. If the world finds out their true power, Great Slaughter will become a battlefield. Sam and Ruth, sensing a new kind of danger, began to investigate Julian's background. They found no record of him in the Sedgwick or Helena lineage. He was a ghost, a man who moved like a shadow. The mystery deepened when a midnight fire broke out near the North Cloister. It was controlled, Symbolica warning. Julian was seen standing near the flames, his expression one of profound sorrow. "The time of the Guardians is ending," he told Boniface, as she helped quench the fire. "The secret is out. You must decide, will you hide the heart, or will you let it bleed for the world?" Chapter 14. The Final Sentinel. The climax came on the eve of the first anniversary of the Sister Helena house. A group of men, dressed in the garb of the Forgotten Brotherhood, entered the convent grounds. They weren't there to steal. They were there to reclaim. Julian was their leader. He challenged the sisters to prove that the seeds would be used for the right reasons. Greed already tried to take them, he argued. How do we know the church won't do the same? Or the government? Sister Boniface stood her ground. She showed them the work being done at the house, the women being healed, the lives being rebuilt. The seeds are not a power, she said, her voice steady. They are a service. If you take them, you take the hope of those who have nothing else. In a dramatic confrontation in the garden, Julian and his men saw the indigo flowers in full bloom. The scent, more potent than ever, seemed to act as a peacemaker. Julian's resolve softened. He saw that Helena hadn't just left behind a treasure. She had left behind a legacy of compassion. "You are the new guardians," Julian whispered, bowing his head. He handed Boniface a final letter from Helena, hidden in his staff. It was a message of blessing, written years before her death. The Brotherhood vanished into the morning mist, leaving the convent in peace once more. The weeping eye symbol was replaced by a simple cross, carved into the stone of the lab. Chapter 15. The Legacy Confirmed. With the final threat resolved, Great Slaughter truly became a place of global significance. The apostle seeds were shared with Reese, but the source remained at St. Vincent's, protected by the sisters and the local police. Sam and Ruth welcomed their first child, a girl they named Helena. The child's laughter became a new kind of music in the village, a sound that promised a future as rich as the past. Sister Boniface continued her research, but she also spent more time in the garden, simply watching the bees. She knew that science could explain the how, but only faith could explain the why. The stone heart of St. Vincent's had indeed become a heart of gold. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of forgiveness and the endurance of truth. Chapter 16. The Whispering Petals. 10 years had passed since the bells of St. Vincent's had rung for the wedding of Sam and Ruth. Little Helena, now a bright-eyed girl of 10, possessed a curiosity that even Sister Boniface found daunting. She didn't just play in the gardens, she seemed to converse with them. One afternoon, Boniface found Helena kneeling by the indigo flowers. The girl wasn't touching them. She was humming, a low, melodic vibration that seemed to make the petals shiver in synchronicity. "They liked the song," Sister Helena said, looking up with eyes that held the depth of the Cotswold mist. "They say the earth is thirsty." Boniface checked her sensors. Indeed, the moisture levels were optimal, yet the plants were exhibiting a unique biochemical stress response. "What else do they say?" "They say a shadow is coming from across the sea," Helena whispered, "a shadow with a familiar scent." The shadow arrived in the form of a news report. A strange, aggressive blight was sweeping through botanical gardens across Europe, specifically targeting rare medicinal strains. It was nicknamed the Grey Rot. As it approached England, Boniface realized with a chill that this was no natural phenomenon. It was a biological weapon, a twisted mirror of the apostle seeds. Chapter 17. The Shadow of the Past. The investigation began when a sample of the Grey Rot arrived at the lab under heavy guard. Boniface peered through her microscope and gasped. The cellular structure was an inverted replica of the apostle essence. It didn't regenerate. It cannibalized. "Someone has been perfecting Sterling's failure," Sam said, his face etched with a new kind of worry. Now, a superintendent, he had more resources, but less time. Apex is gone, but the data remained. It was sold on the black market to a shadowy conglomerate called Orib. Ruth, whose investigative journalism had earned her a Pulitzer, had been tracking Ouroboros for months. "They aren't looking for a cure, Sam. They're looking for a ransom. If they kill off the world's rare medicinal plants, they controlled the only source of healing left, the one they've stockpiled." The threat became personal when the first signs of Grey Rot appeared on the outer hedges of St. Vincent. The protective limestone seemed to hold it at bay, but the rot was evolving, eating through the very stone that